Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto beats Kakashi during the bell test part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Kakashi trudged down the academy hall at a leisurely pace as if he were not 3 hours late to picking up his new genin team, which he kind of wanted to fail like all those prior but had more reasons not to fail. For starters, the son of his sensei, the man who had practically raised him, was on the team, not that anyone seemed to realize it despite the very obvious resemblance. Another matter was the fact that Obito's last remaining loyal relative was on the team, which led to the fact that he was the only person with a Sharingan in the village, so when the boy activated his he was the only one who could properly teach him to use it. Of course he also had one perfectly normal eye, but nobody paid attention to that. Stupid Iowa ninja. Stupid rocks crushing best friend. Stupid two-eyed freaks. But he digressed. He finally made his way to the designated classroom and felt the hairs stand up on the back of his neck. Survival instincts that had saved his life countless times in the field. But for some reason they couldn't save his right eye or get him out of the way of a stupid falling boulder. Figuring one of his potential new students was just pulling a stupid prank, likely Naruto if the boy's track record was anything to go by, he opened the classroom door fully intent on taking whatever prank it was and lowering his students' expectations, only to mindfuck them later. So he opened the door and walked into perhaps the closest thing to hell the ninja world had ever known. Countless dead ninja across the 3 shinobi world wars disagreed, but that's not important right now. What is important is that Kakashi really should have read his 3 students' files before taking them on. Naruto Pav. 6 years ago. Naruto was concerned. Now most children his age would be concerned about normal things like getting new toys or eating ice cream for dinner or staying up late on school nights or making chunin. Somewhere a dog masked Anbu sneezed. No, what Naruto was concerned about was that he might, just maybe, be a 9-tailed fox demon. Okay, this might not seem likely, given that he clearly was a 6-year-old blonde-haired whiskered boy, but that's not the point. The point is that for some reason just about every civilian in the village seemed to hate him, as well as a fair number of the shinobi forces. So much so as to refuse to sell stuff to him and tell their children to stay away from him because he was dangerous. For the most part people chose to ignore him, which he was sometimes okay with. Other times he would give anything for someone to look at him with something, anything, other than pure hate in their eyes. But sometimes when he was sneaking around trying to pickpocket people for some extra ryo, the fact people ignored him made it somewhat easier, and scrounging for something to try adding to his ramen to make it taste better he would hear the adults whisper. It was not always about him, but usually he would be mentioned in some whispered conversation at least once a day. They would talk about the demon brat, or the Kyuubi brat, or sometimes just plain demon or Kyuubi. He had heard these more often when he was younger and people would mutter it on the street, but when those people disappeared and no one ever saw them again the whispers eventually stopped. Naruto had to wonder what happened to them, then again maybe he didn't want to know. The more he thought about it the more Naruto thought there was fair chance he was definitely the Kyuubi. There were the creepy guys in masks who always followed him around and he would sometimes catch glimpses of that he somehow just knew were always there. Then there was the fact that Hokage Gigi took a special interest in him for no apparent reason. Also the way the civilians acted around him. It all made sense if he really thought about it. The guys in masks were around in case he ever lost control and the Hokage looked in on him to make sure he didn't going to regain his obviously lost memories and powers. It also explained why parents told their children not to play with him. If he were a parent he wouldn't let his kids play with a demon that could potentially lose control and attack his child. So he had a good deal of evidence to suspect he was the Kyuubi that had nearly destroyed the village and killed lots of people on the day of his birth, more proof. The 4th Hokage had supposedly killed it, but wouldn't that leave a rather large body lying around? Therefore he came to the obvious assumption that the fourth Hokage used his awesome ninja powers to take away his own powers and memories and transform him into a little baby human. Meanwhile in the belly of the Shinigami, Namikaze Minato had an unsettling feeling that his son had come to a seemingly logical but also very wrong assumption. How does one describe such a feeling? He'd call it as romgic. Yeah, that would work. He was feeling as romgic about his son. Naruto wasn't quite sure how he felt about that. Yeah, he had been destroying the village, but surely he had a very good reason for doing it. Maybe. But he could worry about that later. While he suspected that he was the nine-tailed demon fox, he had no actual proof in regards to it. So he did what any demon in child form would do. He asked an adult, "Mister, am I the Kyuubi?" He asked a confused-looking and strangely dressed man who was walking through the park. The strange man, who wasn't even wearing sandals, gave him a look, and said in a funny accent, "Fuck if I know, can you tell me where I am this time? You're in the park, and why don't you know if I'm a demon? All the other adults seem to know." Naruto explained with frustration. "Yeah, I know I'm in a park. I meant what planet, universe, alternate dimension am I in this time?" The man counted off the words on his fingers. Naruto stared blankly, only recognizing the words "en," planet, and alternate. "You're in Konoha. Why would you be in any of those places?" "Because my boss is goddamn sociopath who likes testing out stuff on me." The man grunted. "Look, if you're a demon then you're probably the nicest one I've met, not to mention, only, despite what people say about Johnny. Like his ego needs to get bigger." He muttered the last part. "I'll ask someone else." Naruto decided and started walking away, wondering what a sociopath was. "Have fun. I hope this place has alcohol. I need a lot of it." The man said and walked in the opposite direction. After some searching he encountered a woman who was watching her children play on the playground. That looked like fun. He never got to play on the playground. The other kids would chase him away before he could get close. The woman made some sort of hissing noise at him as he approached, but he ignored it and came to a stop in front of her. She glared at him but didn't make any moves. "Am I the Kyuubi?" Naruto asked once again. The woman froze, shock overlaying the hate in her eyes. "Huh, that was a nice change." "What?" she said almost weakly as the hate returned a bit, but mostly confusion and shock won out. "Well, nobody likes me, except Hokage Gigi, but I think he might just be keeping an eye on me, and people sometimes call me demon and Kyuubi brat and stuff, and I'm asking you 'cause the last guy didn't know and went to get drunk." Naruto explained proudly. He had put a lot of clearly rational thought into this. The woman said nothing and just stared. The corners of her mouth tightened, but apart from that she didn't move. "Miss?" Naruto asked, a bit worried. Had he broken her or something? The woman continued to say nothing, but slowly glanced around as though searching for something out of view. Maybe she was looking for the masked guys, but there were none of them around. Naruto was good at losing them. Or maybe they just ignored him like everyone else sometimes. Without another word to him, the woman stood up, beckoned her children and left the park, leaving Naruto standing there. Maybe he needed a different approach. Sakura Pav, same age. Sakura was starting to get worried. There were times when she couldn't remember anything. Memory blanks, she guessed she could call them. They were strange and happened at seemingly random times, but there were a few patterns if she looked closely. For example, just a few days earlier she had borrowed a big kid book that had more than 100 pages from the library. When she got home she immediately sat down to read it, opening to the first page only to be turning the last page a second later, not to mention the sun was lower in the sky now. When she sat down to dinner that night her parents had asked her how the book was and she had said she hadn't read it yet. Her mother looked confused and said she had come into Sakura's room to pick up her laundry and she had been happily reading it. Sakura just giggled nervously and said she was joking. Her father had told her she shouldn't lie, while her mother looked at her suspiciously. That wasn't the first time either. There was this mean girl on the playground named Amy who would bully the other kids on the playground. On this particular day she had been picking on Sakura for her slightly larger than average forehead. 1 second Sakura had been about to burst into tears, the next Amy was on the ground clutching her arm and Sakura was full of anger and had a distinct feeling of satisfaction. Then another time when she came across a bird with an injured wing. She remembered feeling worried about it and suddenly she was stepping out of the veterinarian's office with no idea how she got there. She had immediately turned around to find out what she was doing there and before she could ask the nice lady at the desk said she had done a good thing by bringing the bird there. She had mumbled out a thanks and then left feeling rather confused. Right now she was walking down an alley so she could think without outside distraction. She would have blanks when she was upset about something, when she was reading something new, and when someone needed help. It was strange. Maybe she should ask her new friend Ino about it and find out if she had noticed anything. That was when the blonde boy fell off a building and landed face down in front of her. She screamed and blanked out. Inner Sakura glared angrily at the boy laying in front of her. He did not appear to be breathing. That just made her angrier. How dare he upset her and then die so she couldn't take it out on him. She angrily kicked the corpse which suddenly burst into red flames. Inner yelped and leapt backwards landing on her butt. She stared for a moment before realizing it wasn't exactly fire surrounding the boy's body but some form of something. Whatever it was he wasn't burning. How dare he freak her out like that? She would have violently disciplined the red glowing corpse if the red stuff didn't make her feel like curling up in a ball and crying. How dare he do that? The red died down after a moment and left a boy that was definitely breathing and not dead. He groaned and pushed himself up looking around groggily as though he had woken up from a rather long nap. How dare he cheat the laws of life and death? Wah! He mumbled blandly as Inner slammed her fist into the side of his head and, with a surprising amount of strength for a 6-year-old, sent him flipping into the wall of a building with his neck at a funny angle. It was actually quite disturbing looking. How dare he do something weird like that with his neck? Inner out, peace. Sakura blinked in confusion when she saw the boy that had just been laying face down in front of her now resting face pressed against a wall with his neck at a slightly off angle. Oh Kami, was he dead? Why was he dead? Was this another Amy situation? Then a red glow leapt to life around the boy and emanated a vile feeling that made her skin crawl. It also felt familiar even though she could not recall ever seeing it before. There was a snapping noise that made her flinch and the red glow vanished and Sakura managed to even her breathing again. That was scary. Maybe she should make sure the boy wasn't dead. He seemed a bit familiar though, and not in a good way. Ow, my neck. He grunted as he pulled himself to his feet. He glanced around and dusted himself off. He hadn't seemed to notice Sakura yet. Maybe if she was lucky it would stay that way. This boy was not normal. I'm not dead. He noted and a grin split his features. That proves it. I can't die so it must be true. He finally noticed Sakura. Oh hi there. He greeted her. Why you just died. Sakura told him and felt very confused and scared. Oh. He looked downtrodden about that fact. So am I dead now? He asked. You just got up after that red glowy stuff covered you. She wrinkled her nose, it was yucky. Aha! The boy who had whiskers on his cheeks cheered, I knew it. I am the Kyuubi no Yuko. Sakura stared at the other child who had just loudly and happily declared himself the night-tailed demon fox. You don't look like a demon fox. The boy rolled his eyes at her. Well, that's obviously because the fourth Hokage sealed away my powers with his super ninja skills. She finally recognized the boy. I remember you now. My parents said to stay away from you because you were dangerous. The boy nodded sagely. Exactly, everyone's parents say that. It must be because I'm a demon. But no one will tell me if I'm right. He ground out angrily. Sakura backed away slowly before turning and bursting into a run. At home that night during dinner her parents asked her how her day was. It was weird. I went down an alley and a boy fell off a building, died, got back up and told me he was the Kyuubi that destroyed the village 6 years ago. She chewed some of her pork. Also, I think I keep forgetting stuff. Needless to say, dinner became an interesting affair after that. Sasuke Pav. 1 month before graduation. Sasuke muttered thank to Jashin-sama after completing the sacrifice of the small dead animal in front of him. After the massacre, Sasuke felt aimless. His bro, that man, had told him he was too weak to kill at the time, but that didn't make much sense. That man had also killed dozens of children younger than he was, not to mention elderly people who couldn't even get out of bed. That man had said hate would make him strong, but he wasn't sure he believed that. If anything, from what he had seen of Ida, that man, hate did not make him strong, but killing did. After thinking about it, Sasuke had come to a conclusion: hate was a way to get stronger, but it wasn't the way to become strongest. To beat that man, he needed to be the strongest, so he would kill. But he hadn't been sure how killing made him stronger, so he decided to research the matter. Through research, he discovered Jashin-sama and his commandments, and through these he found salvation. That man was a godless killing machine. Sasuke would be a killing machine, but would do it in the name of Jashin-sama and through him find salvation. Also vengeance, especially vengeance. Unfortunately, at this point in time, Sasuke couldn't fulfill all the commandments, namely thou shalt kill thy family, but he would work on it. Also, the tiny fact it was illegal to kill people at this point in time. Until he could kill humans as the commandments directed, he would pray for Jashin-sama's mercy until he could become a ninja and then legally kill people and still be able to eventually kill his brother. For now, he would sacrifice animals to his savior. Of course, being an academy student was far from grandeur. He was the last Uchiha, and almost all the girls in the class fawned over him because of that. He would have sacrificed them to Jashin-sama, illegal or not, but he didn't want to insult his god with such pathetic sacrifices. So for now he would settle for the small animals. Of course, that didn't mean he was oblivious in class. He paid attention to as much as he could. He had to learn everything so he could kill that man when the time came. He also noticed some of the weird habits of his classmates. For instance, the Hyuga girl would go red in the face whenever she was around a certain blonde-haired idiot, more on him later, and seemed unable to speak a sentence without stuttering. Perhaps he should introduce her to Jashin-sama and through him she could find salvation like himself. Then there was the pink-haired girl, or girls maybe. She would act differently all the time. Sometimes she would be an ordinary fangirl. This seemed to be her default. Other times she was a violent fangirl. This would happen whenever the arguments over who liked him more would get out of hand. When she was like this, she was always angry and constantly hit things for even the smallest reason, like breathing too loudly. That was just the beginning too. When reading or taking a test, she would suddenly don glasses and stutter like the Hyuga, only not nearly as much. When she was like this, she was shy, friendly, and most certainly not obsessed over him. Then whenever someone was hurt one way or another, she would suddenly be at their side, medical extraordinaire. She would diagnose whatever was wrong and with a voice full of authority would order around both classmates and teachers with a tone that gave no room for argument. Then there was Naruto. Naruto. Sasuke honestly did not even know. Nor was he sure he wanted to know. He was not sure whether to sacrifice the blonde to Jashin-sama or to pray that Jashin-sama protect him from the insanity the boy clearly had. Naruto was the only one who could last more than 10 seconds in a match with him, but that was only because the whiskered boy was quick and had a boatload of stamina. Sasuke normally won in the end unless the other boy managed to trick him into stepping out of bounds, but that didn't happen much anymore. Apart from that, the boy seemed quite dense. In everything. Except seals, or what they had learned of them anyway. It was creepy actually. Also, it led to how Sasuke learned of the blonde's probably insane belief. Anyway, when they started a brief overview of seals 3 years ago, the instructor had called him out to make an embarrassment of him in front of the entire class like he always did. For some reason Sasuke could not have fathomed at the time. But instead of a complete failure of a basic storage seal, it had been a perfect one. In fact, it was slightly improved. The Chunin instructor had been so confused and been muttering impossible when Naruto apologized. Sorry for anything I did in my past life. The blonde had said much to the confusion of everyone, but the instructor froze and stared. What? He breathed out finally. Not really a question, just an exclamation of shock. Sorry for anything I did to you. I can't really remember, but apparently it was pretty bad, so, sorry. Naruto shrugged nonchalantly as the rest of class stared at him. The instructor stared for a moment longer before finally muttering, "Nice work," before he continued to teach the class as if nothing had happened. Needless to say, everyone that wasn't a Sasuke fangirl had wanted to know what that was about at lunch. Sasuke had been elected to make the demand by silent consent. He had marched up to the outdoor lunch table with a number of other boys in their class gathering around to see if they could get the answer. Okay, Dobi, what was that? The junior Jushinist demanded. What, the seal or the apology? "'Cause I got no clue with the seal, it just kind of seemed obvious for some reason, but there was this one part that didn't look right, so the boy started rambling before Sasuke cut him off. No, not that. Although he was pretty interested in that. The apology thing. Oh, that. Naruto noted. He looked conflicted briefly before shrugging. I think I might be the Kyuubi no Yuko trapped in human form. No one said anything. Sasuke's eye twitched. No. What? Naruto asked. No, you are not the Kyuubi. There is no way. Some other guys nodded in agreement. Hear me out. Naruto pleaded as he folded his hands on the table in front of him as though at a meeting. Almost all the adults hate me for some reason. When I was younger, they would call me things like demon and stuff. Hokage Gigi took a special interest in me for no apparent reason. There are a bunch of masked guys who sometimes follow me around. There is no way Anbu follow you around. Kiba said. There's one in that tree over there. Naruto jabbed a thumb at said tree. The nearby tree shouted, "Shit!" Making everyone's except Naruto's eyes leaves rustled briefly and a number fell to the ground. Everyone turned back to Naruto, who pointed, looking very justified. See? I told you. I still don't believe you. Sasuke told him. I mean, if you were a demon, how did you become a human child? Well, obviously the fourth Hokage used his awesome ninja skills to seal away my powers and memories so I wouldn't hurt anyone anymore. Naruto said. That's kinda a good thing. I want to turn over a new leaf if I really did kill all those people. Troublesome. One Nara Shikamaru muttered. It makes sense, but the whole thing just comes off as romjic to me. That's not a word. Also, I don't think we're supposed to know, so don't tell anyone. Naruto said. Also, no one will tell me if I'm right or not. He pouted. Have you ever asked anyone? Kiba asked, still skeptical. 2 people. Naruto nodded. The first guy said he didn't know, asked what universe he was in, and then went to get drunk, never saw him again. Then I asked some mom and she just hissed at me, stared for a while, then left with her kids. He got a bunch of blank looks. I stopped asking after that. Some of the boys just shrugged and walked off at this point. Others muttered something about crazy blondes. Shikamaru just muttered, troublesome, and left with Choji trailing behind like a lost puppy. Soon only Sasuke and Naruto were left staring at each other. I will not accept this until we get proof. Sasuke told him. Then we'll get proof, cause I want to know too, Dadbao. Naruto agreed. And thus began one of the oddest friendships ever. Well, at least not since that one in that one fanfiction I plan to write that was in the past and may or may not come to pass, but that's not important right now. Hey Sasuke, you done murdering small animals yet? Speak of the devil fox. I'm not murdering them, I'm sacrificing them to Jashin-sama. Sasuke glared. Naruto held his hands up in a placating gesture. Alright, same thing if you ask me. He muttered the last part. You get that stupid sword of yours yet? The blonde asked, referring to an order Sasuke had put in for an obviously oversized sword that he had managed to pull some strings to get. Being the last Uchiha with the funds of the entire clan behind him had its advantages. Maybe. You figure out the Bushin Jutsu yet? Sasuke smirked, knowing it was a sore spot. Yes, actually. Naruto smirked at Sasuke's disbelieving face. but I have to make like 1,000 of them for it to work properly. Oh boo-hoo, I'm Naruto Baka and I'm a demon and I have too much chakra. Sasuke mocked. It's not funny. Naruto glared before snapping his fingers. Oh yeah, so you know how Mizuki really hates me but pretends not to. Yeah, Sasuke said, wondering where this was going. So I got a plan to finally get our answer, Naruto smirked. And it might get you your first human sacrifice. Sasuke remained silent for a moment. Naruto's plans normally led to chaos and destruction whether it was done with good intentions or not. Then again, finally proving if the blonde boy was a demon or not, as well as getting a real sacrifice for Jashin-sama. I'm listening. Uruka's Pav, night after academy final exam. No Mizuki Dan, it's forbidden. Uruka yelled at his friend turned traitor, not really for his sake but rather for Naruto's, who he had come to realize definitely was not a monster. Shut up. It doesn't matter at this point, soon I'll be gone and you'll both be dead. The traitorous Chunin grinned sadistically. Uruka grimaced with pain and realized there wasn't anything he could do to stop his former friend. Turned his attention to Naruto, who was still holding the forbidden scroll he was tricked into stealing. Naruto, don't listen to him. 12 years ago the fourth Hokage died fighting the Kyuubi no Yuko, Mizuki started. Naruto, run! Uruka yelled at the boy, shouting over Mizuki's words. The boy, who instead of leaving actually had a look of was that anticipation. Eeled it away. You are the demon fox, Naruto. Mizuki finished grinning. Whatever Uruka had expected, it was most certainly not a cheerful grin. I knew it. Naruto cried out, leaving the two Chunin dumbfounded. Naruto, what? Uruka managed, wondering if he should rework his opinion of the blonde. Well, everyone's hated me for some reason as long as I can remember. I put a bunch of facts together and figured I was the Kyuubi in human form so I couldn't hurt anyone anymore. Naruto explained. Since I can't remember anything and don't have powers, I couldn't prove it though. But now I know and can start making up for anyone I killed or hurt when I was a monster. He finished cheerfully. Uruka couldn't quite decide if that was touching or concerning. Maybe both. Probably both. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Naruto paused. Hey Tem, did you hear that? He called out. Yes Yubaka, I heard it. Uchiha Sasuke came trudging out of the trees with a sword really too big for him strapped to his back and his hitai wrapped loosely around his neck. Uruka couldn't help but wonder what the actual hell was happening. Did you draw it? He asked Naruto. Yeah, and by the way, that is a pretty messed up seal, Tem. If Mizuki weren't a traitor, I wouldn't do it. He told the Uchiha boy. Now listen her. Mizuki started, but Sasuke cut him off when he was suddenly in front of him swinging his spiky skull-hilted sword at the Chunin. Sasuke was fast for a genin, or pre-genin, until he passed his Jonin instructor's test, but Mizuki was still in Chunin and managed to get out of the way of the blade with only a small scratch. I thought you were Rookie of the Year. Mizuki taunted Sasuke, who didn't even attempt to press the attack and instead turned around and walked to an A spot near Naruto and inspected something on the ground. You sure you did this right? He asked Naruto. Sasuke, I'm not good at much but I am awesome at seals. He told the other boy. Remind me who exactly did the thing to you and your sword. Sasuke grunted before looking back to Mizuki and holding up his blade near his face. Uruka was feeling really confused at this point but remained silent, wondering where it was going. Also, he was still bleeding out. A creepy sadistic smile spread across the last loyal Uchiha's face as he licked Mizuki's blood off the sword. The change was almost instantaneous as his skin seemed to almost invert save for a skull-like white shape on his face. Sasuke then took a step backwards into whatever he had been examining on the ground before. A panicked look came over Mizuki's face. What? Why can't I move? He began trembling in place, Uruka assumed, in a struggle to move. Sasuke cackled maniacally and raised his sword to the sky. Jashin-sama, he cried out, take this soul your humble servant offers you as tribute. He then lowered the blade, turned it towards himself and then, to Uruka's horror and Naruto's panic, shoved it through his chest. The result was instantaneous. a spray of blood erupted from Mizuki's chest in the same place that Sasuke had stabbed himself. Mizuki's eyes went wide with pain and shock as he coughed up some blood. The traitor collapsed on the ground, dying and unable to speak through the blood filling up his lungs and ruptured esophagus. Iruka turned his attention to the now surely dead last Uchiha, but instead of lying in a similar position to Mizuki, Sasuke instead seemed to be shivering in pleasure. Damn it, Sasuke Tem. Naruto swore. I know I did it right, but seriously, if anything had gone wrong, that would have killed you. You couldn't have tested it out first or something? He ranted. Sasuke grunted as he yanked the sword out of his chest. That would be an insult to Jashin-sama. I put my faith in him. If he decided to take me now, that would be my end. Despite his words, Iruka could have sworn he heard a hint of relief in the boy's tone. And you call me an idiot? Naruto rolled his eyes before seeming to realize Iruka was still there. Oh yeah, Iruka-sensei. First, sorry if I did anything to you when I was a giant jerky fox. Also, I actually can do the Bushin no Jutsu, and I learned the Kage Bushin no Jutsu a little while ago. So can I be a genin now? Hey, you don't look too good. How much blood have you lost? Oh crap. Hiruzen's Pav. That same night. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Sandaime Hokage of Konohagakure, Kami no Shinobi, the professor could honestly say for the first time in years he was at a complete loss as to what to do. He knew the day would eventually come when Naruto would find out about the Kyuubi. Unfortunately, it seemed like the boy had figured out there was some sort of connection years ago and came to his own conclusions on the matter. Now he wasn't sure if he should tell the boy the truth, which would still have a lot of holes in it as he couldn't tell him everything. Or he could let Naruto keep believing he was indeed the Kyuubi, given a second chance as a human to make up for the horrible deeds of the past. The second option might actually work best in this situation. It seemed that one Yurumi Iruka had passed Naruto at some point before losing consciousness and being taken into the care of a pink-haired girl who called herself Missy but was identified by witnesses as Haruno Sakura, a recently graduated academy student who had some weird habits and personality traits. He'd look into it later. For now he had to deal with a boy who thought he was a demon and the potential return of the Jashin cult right here in Konoha. Damn you, Minato. You had to go and do something noble like die, leaving your orphan son to decide he was a demon and for himself to deal with the fallout and all the other crazy stuff that happened in this village. Naruto-kun, Hiruzen started, not really sure where to go with this conversation. It's fine, Gigi. Naruto shrugged nonchalantly. I get why you didn't tell me anything about it and why you kept an eye on me with all those Anbu guys. But I promise I'll make up for all the bad things I did. I promise I won't sacrifice anyone in the village to Jashin-sama. Uchiha Sasuke added helpfully. The, for now, went unsaid, of course. Hiruzen decided he would leave well enough alone for now. At least they would be Kakashi's problem soon. No more having to fear that he and Danzo would start bonding over that whole one-eye thing they both seemed to have going on. He was getting too old to deal with this crap. Also, he should probably recall Jiraiya to talk to him about his godson. General Pav, team assignments. I still don't believe you. Kiba decided. What more do you want? Mizuki actually came out and told me I was the Kyuubi. Naruto complained, pulling his hair in frustration. Then why don't you just have Mizuki tell us then? Kiba smirked. I would. Except Sasuke sacrificed him to Jashin, Naruto muttered, looking crestfallen. Kiba and Akamaru glanced over towards where Sasuke sat praying with a set of prayer beads. Nope, not getting involved in that. Before anyone else could contribute to the age-old class discussion of, is Naruto a nine-tailed demon fox? Which he was, as he knew for certain now. If Mizuki hadn't been both a traitor and dead, he would have thanked him. A cry, Shanaru, caused more than half the class to duck under their desks. Now this might seem a bit odd, but they had been dealing with one Haruno Sakura for 4 years now and were thus used to her multiple personalities. The most violent of which, Inner, commonly introduced herself with punching someone while shouting Shanaru. This time it appeared to be Ino as the clan heiress came crashing through the wall with a smirking Inner following her through the hole in the wall. I win. Where's my Sasuke-kun? Wisely her fellow students pointed towards the empty seat next to Sasuke. She almost seemed to teleport into the seat as she sat next to her, Sasuke-kun. Oh Sasuke-kun, Inner cooed with hearts in her eyes. Not now, I'm praying to Jashin-sama. Sasuke told her without even bothering to change position. Inner blinked before rolling with it. You could sacrifice me to Jashin-sama if you want. A number of people shuddered at the way she said this. Sasuke now opened a single eye and narrowed it at her. Like hell I'd insult Jashin-sama by sacrificing a fangirl to him. If I'd sacrifice anyone in here it would be Naruto as it is stated in the commandments. Why don't you then? Inner asked, hoping to remove her competition. You think I haven't tried? Sasuke smirked. Everyone glanced at a completely healthy Naruto. Said, Demon, smiled and waved. The Dobi is literally unkillable. Watch. Sasuke suddenly pulled out a kunai and chucked it at his friend. Everyone watched in horror as it sank into the blonde's throat and he collapsed to the ground, briefly choking and gagging as blood gushed from the severed artery before going still. It was utter pandemonium after that, with a number of graduates, male and female, shrieking in terror. Inner was so shocked it allowed Missy to take over, who immediately rushed over to Naruto's side and began ordering people to get medical supplies. Sasuke watched the panic with amusement before yanking on the ninja wire tied to the kunai, pulling it out of Naruto's neck. For a moment nothing happened, then a red aura sprang to life around Naruto, pulsing violently and causing a number of already terrified students to pass out as the Ki filled the room. It then died down and let silence sit for a moment before Naruto groaned and sat up. What the hell, Tem? Just because it doesn't work does not mean you can kill me for your amusement whenever you want. Naruto was rubbing his sore neck. Gah, you stained my clothes too. I just got this cleaned. Everyone stared at the blonde who had just a moment ago died and was now acting as if he had just slept on his neck wrong. Kiba decided to concede there may be a distinct possibility that Naruto was a demon. Sakura blinked as she regained control of herself. She looked down at a bloody Naruto and shrieked, causing him to wince and cover his ears. Oh Kami. Did Inner do that? Naruto, I may not like you but I am so sorry. Did Missy already patch you up? Are you gonna die? The Pinkett panicked. In order. Shikamaru cut in from where he leaned in his chair. Indirectly, she tried, and he already did. He sighed. Troublesome blondes. It was now that Iruka chose to walk in with a number of bandages wrapped around himself. He looked at the bloody Naruto and the red-stained kunai Sasuke was retrieving while Sakura sat on the floor and stared while the rest of class was in various states of consciousness. He sighed frustratedly. Sasuke, I told you no more trying to kill Naruto, and Naruto, I told you no demonic powers until you're your Jonin sensei's problem. He sighed before pulling out the team assignments. Oh, and Sakura, tell Inner she has to patch the hole in the wall. And will someone wake Ino up? Kakashi Pav, present time. Kakashi stared at the trio. The blood-stained yet cheerful son of his sensei, the sword-wielding praying last Uchiha, and Sakura, who was tied up in ninja wire and was currently gnawing at said restraints. He idly noticed the eraser that fell off the door frame and bounced off his head, bringing their mutual attention to him. Naruto waved cheerfully. Sasuke gave him a one-eyed stare and Sakura growled at him. My first impression of you is, you're weird. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. He then used Shunshin to get to the roof. 10 minutes later the trio finally arrived on the roof with Sakura now wearing glasses and reading a book. Sorry sensei, we would have been here sooner but we figured that Lucy would be the best choice for first introductions, so we had to give Sakura a book she hasn't read yet. Naruto explained as though this was completely normal. Of course. Kakashi smiled and let none of his confusion show. He bet that Lucy was really enjoying using both eyes to read though. Okay then. As we've just met, introduce yourselves. He told them. Sensei. A timid voice asked and he looked to see Sakura had looked up from her book. You want to know about us B, but we don't know anything about you. Could you please introduce yourself? Sorry if I'm out of place. Ma, it's alright. Kakashi decided to placate them, slightly. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. Things I like and things I hate, my remaining I and not much else, my best friend dying and failing the people I care about. I don't feel like telling you. My dreams for the future. Make amends, somehow. Never really thought about it. As for my hobbies, reading porn in public, mourning all the people I failed, can guy be a hobby? I have a lot of hobbies. He got 3 frustrated looks in return. Hey, it was worth taking the team every graduation just to be able to screw with them for a little bit. Since you were so polite, why don't you go first, Pinky? He suggested. At least she didn't seem to be a fangirl. My name is Lucy Sakura. That doesn't sound right. I like learning and testing my knowledge. She would do well as a scholar. I hate not knowing things. Fair enough. My hobbies are reading and thinking. I can relate. My dreams for the future, learn everything. She gushed and Kakashi's sweat dropped. Just wait. Till you meet Inner. He heard Naruto snicker. Okay then bloody, why don't you go next then? My name is Uzumaki Naruto, though I used to have another name. I wonder what that means. My likes are ramen, gardening, training, and annoying Sasuke. Okami, he's like an Obito Minato sensei hybrid. I hate thinking about what I did in my past life. Okay, what does that mean? Also dying. He added as an afterthought. Okay, that's fair. My dream for the future is to make amends for everyone I killed. Once again I can wait, what? When neither Lucy nor Sasuke responded to this final statement, Kakashi decided to take it up with the Hokage. Maybe he could explain why his sensei's son seemed to think he had killed people. Okay then, Kakashi said before turning to Sasuke. Duck butt, your turn. Naruto giggled at the nickname. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. Okay, normal so far. I don't like much, but I worship Jashin-sama. Kami, damn, it almost got my hopes up. I hate not being able to properly make sacrifices to Jashin-sama, also a certain man. I expected part of that. My hobbies are praying to Jashin-sama and attempting to sacrifice Naruto. Keep trying, duck butt. I will. I need to keep an eye on these two. My ambition is to serve Jashin-sama and sacrifice a certain man to him. I am 95% done with this. Okay then. Well, now that we've introduced ourselves, I should probably tell you about the true genin test. Kakashi told them with an eye smile. I thought we already passed the genin test. Sasuke said with warning in his tone. Oh, that was just the pretest. Kakashi told them, smirking under his mask. The true test is more hands-on, and this particular one has a 66% fail rate. It was actually 100% since he started giving it out, but they didn't need to know that. I recommend you don't have any breakfast, you'll just throw up. Also, it'll make the backup test more enjoyable for him. We'll pass your stupid test. Naruto decided, and Sasuke nodded in agreement. I may be in human form, but I'm still the Kyuubi no Yuko, and I have a lot of bad deeds to make up, so like hell I'll let you stop me, Dadbeo. Kakashi stared at Naruto and then glanced at his 2 teammates, who had a disturbing lack of response for him just revealing an S-class secret. Be at training ground 7 at 6. He said, then immediately used the Shunshin to get to the Hokage tower. He needed to talk with the Sandaime and check his students' files. No, I refuse to believe it. Sarutobi Asuma heard his female student cry as he arrived at the training field to give them their genin test. His students being the next incarnation of the Ino-Shika-Cho combination, he expected them to pass, but Ino did appear to be a fangirl. Hopefully she had some skill. He couldn't help but wonder what had set her off this time. Maybe Shikamaru had said something bad about her, Sasuke-kun, she had been talking about yesterday during introductions. Honestly, he couldn't understand where the fangirl persona came from in young Kunoichi, but it seemed to extend to every girl in each graduating class. He had talked to Kurenai about it last night and she had admitted while her one female student wasn't obsessed over the last Uchiha, she had some form of crush on one Uzumaki Naruto. Kakashi had strangely been absent, so he couldn't ask him about the fact he had the two boys that all the girls seemed obsessed over. Well, Sasuke more than Naruto, but still. Believe or not, it's true. Shikamaru told her. He was resting against a tree with his arms behind his head. Choji was sitting nearby munching happily on a bag of chips. Am I interrupting something? Asuma decided to cut in and see if he could start trying to chip away at Ino's fangirlness. That is definitely a word. It wouldn't solve the lazy Nara problem, but it was a start. Nothing. Just that I apparently missed irrefutable proof Naruto is a demon. Ino growled. Wait, what? Asuma, deciding to try playing it cool, smartly said. How the he I mean what are you talking about, Ino? Naruto is in no way related to the Kyuubi no Yuko. Smooth Asuma. Real smooth. Clearly Kurenai has much to gain from a relationship with this man. She doesn't believe it. Shikamaru muttered without bothering to even open his eyes. PFF'd. Ino dismissed him. It's not that I don't believe the fact, it's I can't believe I missed the proof. Right in front of the entire class and I'm unconscious because of stupid Inner. She ranted. You're the one who managed to upset Sakura enough for Inner to come out. I thought you would have learned by now. Shikamaru condescended as Asuma listened in dumbfounded. She's almost as troublesome as the rest of the class put together. Shikamaru paused and looked thoughtful. Then again, the fact that Sasuke is now willing to sacrifice humans to Jashin is rather troublesome news. He sighed and just hung his head and began to take a nap. So that was why Asuma hadn't seen Kakashi the previous night. The poor man was probably trying to figure out how to deal with those three. He couldn't help prevent the smirk as he thought of the one-eyed Junin confronting his father about this. The previous night, Hokage's office. Explain. Now. Kakashi demanded, standing in front of the Sandame's desk. Truth was he had no right to demand anything, but that wasn't important right now. Whatever do you mean, Kakashi-kun? Hiruzen asked innocently, not even looking up from his paperwork. But Kakashi wasn't buying what he was selling. Unless it was a time travel jutsu, no, that would just be silly. Why does Naruto think he's the Kyuubi? Why does Sasuke worship that horrible religion? And what the hell is up with the pink one? Kakashi listed off the major concerns he had gained after meeting his team. In order. The Sandame Hokage glanced up at his subordinate. Read his file, and finally read her file. He informed the silver-haired Junin. Kakashi's eye twitched. Is there a problem? Hiruzen raised an eyebrow at the last Hatake. I don't read the files. I am Hatake Kakashi. If word got out I was paying actual attention to my subordinates, I would never hear the end of it. Kakashi complained. That wasn't to say he didn't care about those under his command, in truth he cared very much. But it was the fact that he had a reputation to maintain, and if word got out he was showing his care, it would be the end of his hip street representative. He could not allow that to happen. Oh Kami, what if Guy were to find out? Ah, my eternal rival. Who knew you could show such care and concern for your most youthful students? The spandex-covered Junin cried manly tears of joy. In honor of your beautiful flames of youth I will run 6 laps around the land of fire on my hands, and if I cannot do that I shall do 10,000 chin-ups in a spaceship going to a planet with blue grass and green skies, and if I cannot do that I will ask you, my beloved eternal rival, to marry me so our flames of youth will never extinguish. Kakashi. The Hokage's concerned shout brought the poor survivor's guilt victim out of his horror-induced daydream, or perhaps daymare would be a better word. Cannot be known. Kakashi hissed. His Hokage regarded him with a concerned look before continuing. You're a ninja, one of our best in fact. As in a well-trained soldier in stealth and assassination, how hard could it possibly be for you to sneakingly get your team's files, read them, and put them back before anyone notices? Hiruzen asked him. Kakashi stared for a moment. You have the files on you right now, don't you? He finally deduced. The Sandame pulled out the files and handed them to the masked man. I won't tell a soul. He promised sagely. Thank you, Kakashi said as he slipped the documents into his jacket and used Shunshin to leave in a swirl of leaves. When the last of the leaves finally floated to the ground, the Sandame turned his attention to the hidden Tenzo who was acting as one of his Anbu guards that night. Did you get it? The Mokuten wielder discreetly slipped out of hiding and presented a video camera. Everyone in Anbu will know within the week. Tenzo confirmed. Hiruzen let out a laugh he hadn't realized he needed until that moment. Naruto POV. The next morning, Training Ground 7. Naruto was bored. A bored Naruto meant many terrible things were about to happen. And there would be no rejoicing. Naruto had a number of odd tendencies that appeared whenever he had nothing else to do. Most notably his tendency to find ways of getting on everyone else's nerves, but that might just be because he was the Kyuubi no Yuko. Speaking of which, so called it. There was a reason for Naruto's boredom. You see, his new sensei or potential sensei as it may be, was late. He was very late in fact. Thus the origin the Naruto's boredom. Why did his new sensei have to be an annoying lazybones? Like a hoodie-wearing skeleton who was actually a badass in a fight. Did he mention he was bored? So while Sasuke prayed to Jashin and Sakura made gooey eyes at him, Naruto decided to wander around the training ground setting up various pranks and traps. So what if he was supposed to be a Junin? And his sensei? Turning over a new leaf or not, nobody makes the fearsome Kyuubi no Yuko wait. As he wandered into the woods only receiving a fleeting glance from Sakura who, while cute, firmly seemed obsessed with giving herself to Sasuke, he took his time to discern the best and worst places to set up his vengeance. The traps and pranks varied from simply to the equivalent of rocket science. Everything from trees that would catch fire when you touched them to simple holes in the ground. He even had set up a few seals that would stick the recipient inside like a storage seal. Naruto was careful with those. He didn't want to get stuck inside one for about 30 years or so until a hapless genin team found him. In an alternate universe, a spiky-haired redhead sneezed. 1. After about 2 hours of setting up his overly complicated series of revenge traps, he wandered back to the clearing to discover that his team's new sensei had yet to arrive. So apparently the whole 3 hours late thing was going to become a trend. Great. You set up some traps. Sasuke noted without looking up. I can neither confirm nor deny such accusations. Naruto stated. He then realized what Sasuke was going to ask. No, I won't help you kill our sensei. Once was bad enough even if he was a traitor. I don't need that on my reputation. I'm trying to be a good person now. Sasuke grunted and gave him a deadpan stare while Sakura just stared blankly at the bickering. Despite her obsession with Sasuke, she wasn't all that familiar with the relationship between him and Naruto, who she now knew was the Kyuubi. Eventually she appeared to get over whatever she was thinking and finally acted. Naruto Baka, you should listen to Sasuke-kun. He was Rookie of the Year. He also wants me to help him sacrifice our sensei to Jashin. He can make his own damn seal, it's not that hard. Naruto ranted. Some of us aren't sealing prodigies, Dobi. Sasuke noted. I'm not going to help you Pseudo murder our sensei. Naruto said with a tone that should have left no discussion. Unfortunately he was dealing with a devout follower of Jashin, so that wasn't gonna happen. Can you at least make sure I do it right? I don't want to stab myself with no purpose. It would be an insult to Jashin-sama's blessing. Sasuke told directed. That's not the issue here. If it were enemy ninja or bandits I would help you, but you want to kill our new sensei. Naruto complained. Sakura once again appeared lost. The commandments state, Sasuke started. Sasuke, listen to me. As the closest thing to a friend you have, it is my duty to tell you that when the demon is trying to teach you the value of human life, there is something wrong. Sakura seemed to freeze up, but Naruto disregarded it. Jashin-sama understands the value, which is why he demands it as sacrifice from his followers to show him our loyalty. Sasuke lectured him like he was speaking to wayward youth. Human sacrifice. You are quite right, Uzumaki-san. There is something very wrong with Uchiha-san here. The duo turned their attention to their female teammate and quickly realized who was currently in charge. Both of the body and the situation. Missy, the bane of all other forms of authority. Also all known medical ailments. That was terrifying for the billions of tiny germs and bacteria that none of them could see, but who cares about them? Let's have a seat, Uchiha-san. Missy directed, conveniently ignoring the fact he was already sitting down. Her lab coat, where had she gotten that? Blew dramatically in the wind behind her. Perhaps you as well, Uzumaki-san. You undoubtedly have a guilty conscience considering your previous status as the Kyuubi no Yuko. Sasuke and Naruto most certainly did not like the look on the pink-haired girl's face as she pulled out a clipboard and pen. She scribbled down something before glancing back up at them. Well, she said in a calm tone, what are you waiting for? Sit down. It wasn't said loudly or even more seriously, but something about the way she said it made Naruto plop to the ground without a second thought. Now then, Uchiha-san, Missy directed at Sasuke, tell me about your childhood. Kakashi paused. Half an hour later. Kakashi was a tad confused when he finally arrived at the training ground. This was mostly due to the fact that two of his potential students were sobbing while the last one was taking notes on a clipboard. He had been up late the night before reading through his new students' files and was a bit more than mildly concerned. Naruto apparently really did think he was the Kyuubi and now had some sort of complex to make up for everything he did. Sasuke had turned to religion when his family had died and planned to use his newfound faith to kill his brother. And Sakura, the person who had done the psyche reviews, was actually fairly confused about her. 4 distinct personalities had been identified, but nobody had any idea what brought them about. Normally some form of childhood trauma would cause this to occur, but there had been none in Sakura's case. And he's just so annoying. I have no idea how we ended up as acquaintances. I mean, if I could kill him I would, but he doesn't seem able to die, so at least he won't just leave me here like everyone else. Sasuke ranted as Sakura took notes in a notepad. Very interesting. Tell me more about you, brother. Itachi was it. Sakura, who probably wasn't Sakura right now, asked. That man, Sasuke hissed, is not my brother. What he is a sacrifice to Jashin-sama to both appease him and avenge my family. Interesting. Sakura muttered, quickly writing some more notes. But what about me? Naruto asked, sniffling. Why did my parents never come looking for me when I got turned into a human? Did they even care about me? Maybe they left me when I was a little fox kid and that's why I became an evil monster. I'm not an expert on demons, so I'm not sure you even had parents, Naruto. Kakashi twitched at her explanation. He knew for a fact that Naruto was not a demon and did indeed have parents. Also, the fact that he personally knew and mourned the kid's parents also factored into it. That makes it even worse. Naruto cried out. Well, isn't this curious? Kakashi noted truthfully as he walked into the clearing. He decided to downplay his true feelings on the matter. Ah, hello, sensei. Missy. He had deduced it was based on the characterizations in the files he had reviewed the previous night, didn't even look up as she scribbled some additional notes. Are we going to be starting the test soon? Well, that was the plan. Kakashi said, putting a hand on his chin dramatically, but given the current state of your teammates, perhaps I should just fail you now. Missy froze and Sasuke and Naruto pulled themselves back together. All within 3 seconds. Not too shabby for Genin. He was just beginning to plan how he run the Torminahem test, when the pencil in Missy's hand snapped. Except it wasn't Missy's hand anymore. What was that, sensei? I thought I heard you say that you would just fail us because those two are emotional wrecks. But you couldn't have said that, because then I would have to rip your intestines out and wear them as a scarf, cha. Inner Sakura roared. Naruto and Sasuke took one large step back a piece from Inner as Kakashi's eyes smiled in amusement. Well, that's the right kind of drive you need for this test. Kakashi said happily, ignoring the aura of death emanating from his female student's most violent personality. You see, I have 2 bells. He held up said bells for the children to see. Whoever can get a bell before this timer runs out. He held up his other hand with a timer sitting in it. Will pass, whoever doesn't will be tied to a pole without lunch and be sent back to academy. That doesn't sound right, Sakura said. Apparently she had calmed down while he was talking. A pity the violent one looked rather interesting. Each team is made of 3 genin and a junin sensei. She's right. Sasuke agreed with her. He said we all had to get a bell right. So that just means each of us just has to get a bell at one point, not that we all need to have one at the end. Naruto deduced. Kakashi felt like tearing up as he watched his prospective team tear apart the bell test that had defeated ninja in training mightier than they. Of course that could just be a fault of his wording. Oh well, they still had to work together to pass. How about we all go after him at once? Naruto suggested. One of us has got to manage to get a bell. Sasuke agreed. Then we just pass it around to everyone. Kakashi's eye twitched. His good eye. Well, the good eye that was actually his. And not his dead best friend's Sharingan. He forced himself to breath. Just stick with the plan, Hatake. Just stick with the plan. You'll have to come at me with everything you have. He was cut off before he could continue by the sword that he could have sworn was on Sasuke's back came close to taking his head off. K, he said as he came at Kakashi again. The Uchiha was surprisingly fast for his age and rank. If he could hold on to his speed, he could be deadly in the future. Of course, for now Kakashi was far faster than he could dream of being. The sword strikes were fast and targeted vital points such as the neck, but they were sloppy and imprecise. Sasuke had a long way to go apparently, even if he was a so-called prodigy, though Kakashi assumed that was just hype brought on from him being the last loyal Uchiha. He was no Itachi and Kakashi knew it. Lesson 1 Tai. Kakashi was cut off once again. Seriously, wouldn't these kids let him finish a damn sentence? My turn. Naruto cheered and made a hand sign. Suddenly the clearing was a mass of orange clones, Kakashi deduced. Then one threw a kunai that Kakashi swiftly dodged before jumping over a surprise low slice from Sasuke's sword. Shadow clones, he amended as they charged him along with Sasuke. As I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, Kakashi started again sidestepping Sasuke's blade, allowing a group of clones to crash into each other, and grabbing the 12-year-old by the upper arm. Lesson 1, Taijutsu. He then nimbly flipped Sasuke into a bunch of clones, causing them to poof into smoke and for Sasuke to go rolling along the ground. The clones, however, kept coming and Kakashi darted through them, striking them and causing them to disperse faster than any of them could strike him. It was actually quite amusing. In a matter of seconds, every single clone in the clearing had been turned into smoke, leaving an empty clearing. Huh, what happened to Sasuke and Naruto? He supposed there had been a lot of smoke. Wait, where was Sakura? Sakura Pav. When she had seen her teammates try to take on their new sensei, Sakura had frozen up. Sasuke had his sword and had looked so cool. Naruto, who was certainly less cool, had still managed to provide some irritation to their sensei, and in the smoke of all of the dispersing she had made her escape to hide and try and figure out how to get the bells. Looking back, that was probably Naruto and Sasuke's plan. The other girls who liked Sasuke had noticed as the relationship between the demon boy and last Uchiha had grown over the years. Problem was they had no idea how it really started, so they couldn't try to get into his good favors. But the two had some sort of sync and had likely only attacked first to see if they could get a read on the silver-haired man's abilities. When she had run out of clearing, she had gone a ways before doubling back and sneaking the last stretch. So here she was hiding under a bush watching her prospective teacher read a porn novel. Don't ask how she knew what that was. She was a good and proper young lady, but Inner and Missy had problems. Her other personalities were a weird subject for her. She knew they were there, but she never actually really talked to them. They occasionally left each other notes telling each other to do important stuff, but that was the entirety of their relationship. Sakura had gone to various psychologists over the years to try and work out the problems, but none of them had had much headway. Mainly because no one knew how they formed. Most people with the disorder had lived through a traumatic childhood filled with abuse and cruelty, but Sakura didn't have that. Her parents loved her. She had been friends with other girls back before they started fighting over Sasuke. Honestly, the worst she had was when she had been bullied for her forehead. "Hey Sakura," Naruto suddenly said to her from where he was crouched beside her. She nearly shrieked in surprise. She hadn't even heard the bush rustle. How did he get here? Was it a demon thing? "What do you want?" she hissed. "Well, the Tem and I, hey, no hitting, he is a Tem," he told her when she tried to whack him over the head. "Anyway, the Tem and I agree that a team is supposed to have 3 genin, therefore we decided it's part of the test. We think it's about teamwork or something like that." Naruto rolled his eyes. He could at least come out and tell us instead of trying to trick us into doing the exact opposite. "Does Sasuke-kun have a plan?" she asked, desperate to get her crush's approval. "Actually, I have a plan," and Sasuke critiqued it. "Always good to have multiple inputs," Naruto told her. "How's it work?" she asked after a moment. If Sasuke agreed to it, then it must be a good plan. "Not here. Kakashi is right there," Naruto said, pointing at the seemingly ignorant perverted sensei. Sakura nodded in agreement and they slipped away. Kakashi Pav. Kakashi had heard every word, of course, and was feeling a tad ecstatic. Sure, they had picked apart the meaning behind the test, but the question of whether or not they actually could work together had yet to be answered. Understanding is only part of the solution. So, being the reasonable Cyclops he was, he decided to sneakily follow after Naruto and Sakura and find out what the plan was. As he leapt through the trees in the forest, he noted that there were a number of traps scattered around. Most of them were on the ground, fortunately, but he soon saw that a tree branch ahead of him had been partially cut through. If he had landed on it, he would have gone crashing. So he leapt to the less obvious branch behind it. However, as soon as he touched down on the branch, a series of seals flashed and he found himself paralyzed and unable to move his limbs. He could still feel them but couldn't get himself to move. He was in a crouched position, and after 5 minutes it was beginning to get uncomfortable. "Hi there, sensei," Naruto's voice said happily from the ground. Kakashi shifted his single eye down and saw his team staring back up at him. Sasuke was smirking, Naruto was grinning, and Sakura looked a bit lost but still overall happy. "MMPH, he managed to get out. Oh, it's just a bunch of paralysis seals. They'll wear off in a bit. Kinda like Sasuke's freaky suicide murder seal," Naruto explained. "Hey," Sasuke glared at him. "That is the holy sacrificial seal of Jashin-sama and you will respect it." "Yeah, well, I'm an immortal demon. What does Jashin have on me?" Naruto shot back. The two began bickering about whether demons or gods were better. "GMMF. Kakashi tried to say. "What's that, Kakashi-sensei? You agree with me?" "See, Sasuke, even sensei agrees." Naruto incorrectly translated. "What are you saying, Dobi? Of course he's agreeing with me that even demons like you should still respect the gods." Sasuke made his own wrong attempt. Kakashi groaned in acceptance. "Oh right. Hey Sakura, since it was my seals that trapped Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke's idea to lure him into it, if you get the bells and give it to us, that means we each got the bells and worked as a team to pass," Naruto explained happily. After Sakura managed to shimmy up the tree, she quickly nabbed the bells off of Kakashi's belt and jumped down. She tossed one to each of her new teammates. "Well, this was fun," Naruto said, and Sasuke nodded. "Who wants ramen?" "Damn it, Naruto, is that all you ever eat?" Sasuke complained as they started leaving. Sakura trailing along behind. "Well, I'm pretty sure I ate people in the past, but I think I'm a bit small for that at this point," Naruto mentioned, sounding thoughtful. "Jashin-sama, damn it, Naruto." Sasuke groaned, resting his forehead in his hand. Naruto paused. "Oh yeah, sensei, that should wear off in a few hours. See ya tomorrow. Try to be on time though." His eyes flashed red. "Or else." He then smiled cheerily, turned back around and continued on his way with Sakura keeping a noticeably larger distance between them now. So Kakashi was left unable to move on a branch, wondering where it all went wrong. Probably somewhere after his father died, team died, sensei and his wife died, and he threw himself into missions to block out the pain, completely ignoring said sensei's child, allowing him to convince himself he was a demon. Yeah, that would be it. Same POV. Later. Team 7, pass. Kakashi announced, sounding bored. He decided to ignore the incredulous stares of the rest of the room. He would let them all assume that the bell test had been done right with one of the potential students tied to a stump and that they had learned the true value of teamwork the hard way. That was his story and he would stick to it, and there was no way in hell he was going to admit he had been tricked by Genin. He knew he had been getting lazy, but this was unacceptable. He would have to step up his own training and observation skills. That had been a rookie mistake and he would not repeat it. Kakashi had arrived late as usual, which nobody questioned, but plenty of people grumbled about. Most people assumed he had just been doing his normal thing instead of literally being unable to attend due to being paralyzed. So it was a good thing he was habitually late, or that would have brought up some questions. Questions that he was sure he would find a way around, but that he would rather not deal with. Very well then. Hiruzen said, everyone whose team failed, you may go. Asuma, Kurenai and Kakashi, you stay, I want to hear your report. Okay then, get your story straight, Kakashi thought to himself. You completely embarrassed your 3 genin in taijutsu, genjutsu and ninjutsu. One of those was true at least. It ended with you tying Sakura, Sakura to a stump. Then her teammates decided to give her lunch and you passed them, Kakashi internally smirked. No one would ever have to know what really happened. Why don't you go first, Kakashi? I was watching your test on my crystal ball, so I'll be happy to fact check. But I want to hear it from your point of view. The Sandame said seriously, but Kakashi could have sworn that he saw amusement flashing in the man's eyes. Kami, damn it. Naruto POV, Ichiraku ramen. How did you do that with your eyes and voice? Sasuke asked as he swallowed his tomato ramen. I've never seen you do that before. He added. Not sure really, just wanted to test a theory. I know I still have my demonic chakra, I just can't use much of it unless I'm dying. Naruto admitted. So I tried to channel some of it consciously for once. Neat trick. He admitted and went back to eating. Sakura had been silent the entire time, obviously trying to figure out how to get involved in the conversation. She perked up when she realized something. Naruto, you said it was your plan, but you told Kakashi-sensei it was Sasuke-kun's idea, Sakura started. It was my plan to trap him in a paralysis seal and Sasuke's idea to lure him into one rather than me trying to place one on him in a fight. Naruto explained. Oh, Sakura said. At this point Sasuke had finished his meal and was praying to Jashin while Sakura had eaten all she was going to of her low-fat, low-calorie, all-organic, no preservatives added, ramen. Naruto finished up his 5th bowl and sighed contently. I'm not sure about you guys, but I think this is gonna be great. I mean, what could go wrong? Naruto grinned. Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves. Such a serene and peaceful place. That is to be expected, of course. It is the most powerful of the 5 great ninja villages, so who would dare challenge it? At this time of year especial. Damn cat, get back here. As I was saying, at this time of year especially the leaves are just beg. Shoot. It jumped over the trap seals. Inning to turn the most beautiful shade of green. Look out for that tree. Fuck it, I was trying to set the scene, but, hey. Whatever. Who cares? I sure fucking don't. Are you guys sticking to the plan? Kakashi asked over the radio, flipping a page. We tried, it didn't work. Sasuke growled as he watched both Iner and Naruto chase after Tora the cat in a mad dash all around a mulberry bush. What about plan B? Kakashi asked from where he was about 300 yards away, happily reading his book. Plan B needed Naruto's trap seals to still be in place. Sasuke said as watched Iner use Naruto's head as launch board to propel herself towards Tora, who had leapt up onto a tree branch. What happened to the trap seal? Kakashi asked, actually putting down his book in interest. Sasuke glanced down at the chakra-enhanced ropes that currently had him tied up from the neck down to his ankles. No comment. He responded. Well, if you're not in the sharing mood. Kakashi sighed as he returned his attention to his novel. He was just getting to the page where the main character stealthily infiltrated the all-girls hospital to visit a pair of twin nurses. He giggled pervertedly. Quote. Sensei, are you reading porn? Sasuke asked after a moment. Naruto had pulled himself back up and was chucking paralysis field seals attached to kunai at the cat. Inner had fallen off the branch she was on and landed face first in a bush. Now what would make you think that, Sasuke-chan? Kakashi asked teasingly, turning the page of his book. Do not call me that, especially not when you're reading porn. Why don't you at least try to read some real literature? Sasuke asked as he watched the recovered Inner attempt to use Naruto as a weapon to beat Tora into the ground, and failing. Oh, and what might you recommend? Kakashi asked as the main character encountered his long-lost and thought-dead lover in the amnesia ward of the hospital. The Holy Book of Jashin-sama. Sasuke suggested as Inner got caught in one of the paralysis fields and dropped Naruto. If looks could kill, the blonde's head probably would have exploded given the look Inner was giving him. I've never been the religious. Kakashi noted as the main character found himself in a room with his amnesiac lover, the twin nurses and his sexy arch-rival and potential love interest. Fucking atheist. Sasuke muttered as he watched Naruto finally grab onto the cat and slap a seal onto it that temporarily shut down all higher brain functions. And what's wrong with being an atheist? Kakashi asked as things began to heat up when it turned out the main character's rival was having a lesbian affair with the main character's amnesiac lover. He loved this book so much. Before Sasuke could explain exactly how stupid it was to go through life without the holy blood-colored light of Jashin-sama, Naruto finally announced over the radio. I got it. Well done, Naruto. Kakashi congratulated the blonde, snapping his book closed. It was just getting to the good part, but being the responsible adult he was, he would focus on his genin team. All in a day's work, sensei. Naruto said, picking up the downed animal. Sasuke, Sakura, why can't you be more like Naruto? Kakashi asked seriously. Grmmph. Inner growled, still unable to move due to the paralysis. But it probably translated to something like, Cha, I'll fucking murder you and that blonde little shit stain, Cyclops. I hate you all so much. Sasuke announced before suddenly losing his balance and toppling over face first. Ow. He groaned into the ground due to the fact he couldn't catch himself from falling with his arms tied. At least the grass was reasonably comfortable. No measly cat can match the all-powerful fox demon. Naruto cheered, hoisting the unconscious cat over his head. Naruto, we've been over this. You're not a demon. Kakashi sighed with frustration. In the few months he'd had them as students, he had attempted to rid Naruto of his insane belief that he was the Kyuubi given human form. Unfortunately. And like I've said before, you can stop pretending now, sensei. I know. Naruto hissed out the last part as though imparting a secret. He stood up and began walking towards Sasuke to untie him, only to end up trapped in one of his own paralysis field seals. This was the scene Kakashi arrived on a few moments later. Sasuke lying face first on the ground while tied up, Inner with both hands poised above her head as though to smash something with a hammer, and Naruto with Tora tucked under his arm with his foot raised as though he were about to take a step. He sighed and shook his head in shame. Yep. Just another normal day for Team 7. Naruto's POV, Hokage's office. The members of Team 7, not including Kakashi, glared at the cat they had captured. Currently it was being crushed to hem, cuddled lovingly by its owner. Stupid cat. Naruto thought to himself, it had us running in circles for hours. He conceded that if he was treated like this animal was, though, he would probably run away and do whatever it took to never return. When he had finally graduated and become a ninja, Naruto had been expecting to do awesome ninja stuff, not chores. He did have to admit they were at least a way for him to get done his good deed of the day. It wasn't exactly making up for the thousands of lives he had taken and or ruined during his past life, but hey. It was a start at least. Of course that didn't mean he was just going to sit down and take more of these dumb D ranks. I've had it with all these stupid missions. Can't we get a real mission for once? He complained, deciding to direct it at Kakashi rather than the Hokage. I don't know, Kakashi said thoughtfully. You're still rather new to this. I think we should do a few more D ranks just to be sure. Tora took this opportunity to leap out of his owner's arms and flee to freedom once again. Ah, Kakashi said pleasantly as Madame Shijimi cried about her. It appears a new mission has just opened up. No, the three genin cried out simultaneously. None of them wanted to go after that damn cat again. Are you sure? Kakashi asked, sounding concerned. It would be very good practice for real missions. So you admit they are not true missions, Hataki-san? Naruto nearly leapt out of his skin at the unexpected input from Missy. When did Sakura switch? There wasn't anyone injured around right now. Oh, well, you see. Kakashi started trying to defend his statement. Hokage-sama, I formally request a C rank mission for myself and my team. We have been able to complete every mission assigned to us thus far and therefore are clearly legible for a more difficult and useful task. Missy directed at the Hokage. Naruto paused to wonder where that lab coat kept popping up from. Hiruzen hummed thoughtfully, lightly stroking his small beard. I suppose your argument is fairly valid. As long as your sensei agrees, I see no reason not to assign you a C-ranked mission. He explained and looked to Kakashi for confirmation. Well, I suppose it might be good for them to get some experience outside of the village. Kakashi agreed after considering for a moment. In that case, you have quite good timing. For it just so happens I have a mission concerning escorting the Sandame read the mission file and frowned. A super awesome bridge builder back to Super Wave Country so he can finish building his super bridge. I'm sorry to say that I have never heard of Super Wave Country, but we'll be happy to escort him to Normal Wave Country. Kakashi smiled. Very well then, send Tazuna in. Hiruzen directed. Naruto wondered just what kind of person they were escorting when he walked in. It was an old man with glasses holding a sake bottle. Lovely. He could smell the alcohol on his breath from here. They were escorting a drunk, what fun. Then again, maybe he'd finally get to try alcohol. He and Sasuke had tried a year ago because of reasons, but had not actually managed to get any. It was a funny story actually. You see, what the heck? I asked for some super ninja to escort me. Tazuna took a gulp of his bottle. Not a bunch of green brats. They look like they couldn't protect a fly. Especially the stupid looking blonde one. Okay, he was paying for that comment. Naruto reached for the small part of his sealed chakra he could access and allowed it to flow through him. When his vision took on a red hue, he spoke, "What was that, you pathetic little ant?" He felt an immense satisfaction when the bridge builder froze and dropped his bottle. Next to him, Sasuke smirked and Missy just shook her head. Kakashi just sighed. To be fair, the man probably was concerned about his willingness to reveal himself, but he knew what he was now, so there was no use hiding it from everyone. Tazuna coughed, turning away slightly. What I meant to say was I'm honored that you're willing to take time away from your busy schedule to aid me. You, whatever you are. Naruto smiled happily. Great. I can't wait to get going. Watching this, Hiruzen could not help but wonder if he should have corrected Naruto when he had the chance. Oh well. Kakashi Pav, the next morning, Konoha's gates. So are you three all set to go? Kakashi asked his three students the next morning, using Shunshin to appear behind them. They jumped and turned to stare at him. And stare at him. And stare some more at him. And continue to stare at him. Is something wrong? He finally asked the trio after 2 whole minutes had passed without any of them blinking. That was not healthy for the eyes after all. Or in his case, eye. Singular. Maybe they could close one and then the other would dry out and they'd only have one eye too. Wait a second. Was he actually fantasizing about his students losing one eye apiece? Maybe that blood-covered homeless man with the rat puppets was right and he did need therapy. Sensei. Sakura started a panicked look on her face. You're AA actually, Naruto continued, his eyes widening in horror. On time. Sasuke finished reaching up to his neck and grasping the prayer beads that hung around it like they were a lifeline. Kakashi toned, putting on a thoughtful look. I guess I am. How lucky the road of life led me here today, he said with an eye smile. In truth, he had only shown up on time so he could promote a professional attitude to Tazuna to help Konoha's image. Unfortunately, his genin decided to ruin it. It's the end times. Sakura screeched and started to sob into her hands. I'm not ready to die yet, Naruto shouted, clutching his head and running in circles. Oh Jashin-sama, I apologize for failing you so early. I humbly offer my soul to you for judgment. I pray that you take my short time in this world into consideration before judging me. Sasuke muttered as he knelt and prayed. Kakashi's sweat dropped and Tazuna just watched the spectacle dumbfounded. Is there something wrong with them? He asked Kakashi seriously. Kakashi just shook his head shamefully. There are so many things wrong with them. It took about 10 minutes to convince the team that no, the world was not ending, and yes, Kakashi really was on time and was not an imposter. That, however, led to another rather astronomical conclusion. He must be possessed, Sakura deduced. Of course. Naruto slapped his forehead. Why didn't I think of that? He turned to Kakashi. Do you know who I am? I am the Kyuubi no Yuko. Get out of my perverted sensei, lesser demon. He roared and tried to tackle Kakashi. Kakashi just sighed and reached out and grabbed Naruto's head, keeping his wild swings at bay. Like he would allow himself to be possessed by a demon. If anything had possessed him, it would have been a ghost, because he wouldn't have been able to see or hear it coming. But it's not like there are dead teenagers just floating around in an endless green void or anything. In an alternate universe and/or dimension, a white-haired, green-eyed teenager sneezed. I can assure you three, I am most certainly myself and not currently possessed by anything. Demons or otherwise. Kakashi told them. So much for helping Konoha's image. Okay then, now that's sorted out. Are you three all packed already? Kakashi asked. Naruto held up a storage scroll, of course. Sakura presented a bag which was filled with dresses, makeup, lab coats, and spare glasses. Did she actually need glasses and only Lucy was willing to wear them or something? Sasuke presented a bag that was filled with some more practical items, as well as some less practical ones, such as an extra set of prayer beads, a sacrificial knife, and a copy of the Holy Book of Jashin-sama. I'd be willing to let you borrow that, Sasuke added helpfully as Kakashi inspected the book. I'm good, thanks, Kakashi told him, whipping out his own copy of Ika Ika, Paradise. The three genin groaned. Oh, is that the new one? Tazuna asked. I'm a few novels behind, he admitted. The genin glared at their client with a distinct lack of respect. After checking in with the gate guards, the group marched off towards Wave. Due to this fact, they missed the following conversation. Hey Katetsu, Azumo asked. Yeah, Azumo. Katetsu put down his manga novel. You ever notice how Naruto looks like the Yondaime Hokage? Azumo questioned. Katetsu looked thoughtful. They both looked towards the Yondaime's giant stone face carved into the side of the mountain. Yeah, you're right, he does kinda look like Yondaime-sama. Katetsu agreed after a moment. How weird. Azumo nodded. Yeah, must be a coincidence. Katetsu nodded and went back to his manga about two best friends who always had guard duty together, but one secretly had a crush on the other. He just felt some sort of connection to it. General Pav, on the road to Wave. It's so hot, Sakura complained as they trudged along the road. Yeah, it's been days since there's been any rain, Sasuke agreed. Sakura's eyes lit up with hearts in them due to the fact that her Sasuke-kun was agreeing with her. Even though this is biologically impossible. Also rather cliché. Just accept it and keep reading. Then it's a good thing I dropped an explosive tag in that random puddle back there, Naruto commented. Wait, what? Boom. Two smoking and wet lumps went flying over their heads and crashed on the road in front of them, twitching. "Aw man," Naruto complained, seeing the twitching forms of two ninja. "Why are you complaining? Isn't that what you were planning?" Sasuke asked, confused. "What? Of course not. I just wanted to make a big splash of water to cool us down." Naruto explained his reasoning. "I had no idea it was A. Actually, how did they do that?" This part was written when the series was new and Kishimoto was still working out how our world worked. Lucy explained, pushing up her glasses nervously. That was weird. Sakura hadn't been reading anything. Fourth wall breaking aside, Kakashi sent a glare at Lucy, who looked down in shame. "It's a bit hard to tell, but I'd say these two were the demon brothers, a pair of Chunin level Kiri Nuke Nin." "Wait, so are they actually demons?" Naruto asked curiously. "No, people just call them that," Kakashi told him. "But they're not real demons," Naruto complained. "Neither are you," Kakashi pointed out. "Okay, Kakashi-sensei, it used to be funny, but now it's kinda getting annoying." "Knock off the whole Naruto is really a human act," he scolded Kakashi. Kakashi just closed his eye and counted to 3. "Whatever the case, I am very curious why there are two Nuke Nin who just happened to be sitting around waiting for us. Now they could have been after me, but I doubt it, considering this mission could have just as easily been assigned to another team. So Tazuna, care to explain why these two are after you?" Kakashi asked, a deadly glint in his eye. "Wait, what happened? Who are those two? Why is everything clearer?" Sakura suddenly asked as she looked around, feeling very confused. She still had Lucis glasses on too, which explained the last question. Sasuke just sighed. If only these fools had accepted Jashin-sama, then they would be able to live their lives with true clarity and would hopefully be less insane and more normal and well-adjusted like himself. Damn atheists. Time skip. After getting the truth about the mission out of Tazuna, that they was a businessman named Gato who had been terrorizing Wave Country, the team decided to continue on. Naruto had checked with Tazuna to find out if this guy was calling himself a demon too. Fortunately for Gato, he was not. So the group continued on and met the rower guy. He rowed the boat gently down the stream. Not so merrily, but you get the idea. "Hey guys, what's not white and fluffy, but still probably wants to kill us?" Naruto asked suddenly as they walked through a completely natural and normal fog. "Is this some sort of weird riddle?" Sakura asked. She had left her glasses on after assurances from Sasuke that it did not make her look ugly. "And why would anything white and fluffy want to kill us?" Knowing Naruto, probably both a warning and a riddle. Also, he has weird fear of rabbits, Sasuke sighed. "Oh, we should probably duck," he added, dropping to the ground. "Hey, I've told you before, Tem, it's a completely rational fee." Naruto was suddenly cut off, quite literally, as a massive blade came spinning through the air and nearly sliced his torso in two. He dropped to the ground in a bloody mess. Kakashi froze as he watched his sensei's son suddenly and unexpectedly, kind of die. Damn it, he had failed someone else. If only he had both eyes and depth perception. He might have been able to save him. His resolve hardened. Whoever this bastard was, he was going to make him pay. "Damn it, Naruto, not again." Sasuke muttered, and Sakura just stared blankly at the unexpected blood that had sprayed and gotten on her. "Well, honestly, I thought it would be harder to kill any of you than that," a voice said. The group turned away from Naruto's body and saw a man with bandages wrapped around his mouth standing on the sword where it was embedded in a nearby tree. "Oh well, guess I got my hopes up too high. Shanaru." Inner Sakura suddenly roared and pounded the tree where the sword-wielding ninja had just been standing. "What?" the bandage man asked as he watched the tree break in two. "That little girl just punched hard enough to splinter a tree. That was concerning. You got blood on me, cha." She screamed at him and came running with death in her eyes. She was unexpectedly dropped to the ground by a whack on the head just before she reached him. "Zabuza, demon of the bloody mist." Kakashi growled, staring at the man who had just killed one of his students and knocked out another. He slipped his hand into his kunai pouch and pulled one out. Are you kidding me? A voice Kakashi had not expected to hear again shouted. He whipped around to see Naruto sitting up, still covered in blood, whacking his forehead repeatedly. Kakashi was flooded with both relief and confusion. Relief that his student was alive and confusion at the fact that, well, he was alive. Didn't I just kill him? Zabuza asked, seemingly no one as everyone else's attention was on Naruto. Why is it there are so many fake demons? Naruto complained, pulling himself to his feet. All those demonic illusion techniques for genjutsu, those two people I blew up earlier, even Kakashi-sensei was pretending to be one earlier. He ranted. No, I wasn't, Kakashi said quietly, still rather shocked Naruto was still alive. Listen up. I am the only real demon here. Anyone else who claims to be one is a pretender, Ttebeo. Naruto told everyone. What the fuck do you mean you're a real demon? You're just some blonde brat. Zabuza said. Naruto's eyes went red. You dare question the Kyuubi no Yuko tiny nuke nin? What the foo? Zabuza started but stopped to dodge before Kakashi could fully slice his neck open with a kunai. To tell you the truth, I'm rather out of practice. Kakashi told Zabuza as the nuke nin put pressure on the small gash on his windpipe. The leaf ninja had uncovered the Sharingan eye his friend had given him. But the scarecrow wasn't done attacking. Zabuza barely had time to raise his sword before Kakashi could shove a kunai through his heart. But I just watched my sensei's only legacy nearly die before I could fix whatever the hell his messed up childhood did to him. So right now I can tell you, if you don't back off, I will kill you. Kakashi stared him in the eye with both his own eye and Obito's Sharingan. If his tone of voice was anything to go by, he believed every word he said. I'd like to see you try copycat Kakashi. Zabuza told him, smirking behind his bandages and shoved the other man away. And I'd like to see people like you stop ripping off real demons like me. Naruto shouted, his eyes still red, as he hurled a barrage of kunai trailing various types of seals at the demon of the bloody mist. Like a weak little newbie genin like you could, oh shit. Zabuza said as he saw the explosive tag on one of the kunai flash. Zabuza, however, was not a A-ranked nuke nin and a swordsman of the hidden mist for nothing. He had simply used the kawarimi to switch with the nearest thing. Which just so happened to be Kakashi. Kakashi, however, was not an A-ranked former Anbu captain for nothing. He used the kawarimi to switch with a nearby log. Praise the log. Okay, neat trick, brat. Zabuza admitted, ignoring the shouted correction of, demon, let me show you one of mine. He started making a series of hand seals. Meanwhile, Sasuke was drawing in the dirt and Tazuna was huddled behind a tree, beginning to regret lying about the mission's difficulty. A moment later, the mist deepened and covered the entire area, effectively blinding everyone. The leaf shinobi looked around and tried to pinpoint the swordsman. Sasuke, Naruto, be careful, he's a master of the silent killing technique. Kakashi warned them. He wasn't quite sure how Naruto had survived, but he wasn't going to complain about it. Sasuke grunted as he finished what he was doing. It was hard to tell in the mist, but it looked like he did it right. Hey Sakura, can you see anything? Naruto called to his unconscious teammate. He had allowed his demonic chakra to fade away. Zabuza knocked her out while you were unconscious. Sasuke told him as he unsheathed his sword. Darn, we could use Missy or Inner right now. Naruto pouted. MMMPH. A grunt suddenly came from where Tazuna was hiding. Except it wasn't Tazuna grunting. Sweet, it worked. Naruto cheered as the mist slowly began to dissipate, making it easier to see. This was most unfortunate for the bridge builder, who nearly pissed himself when he saw a motionless Zabuza trembling with his sword poised to take the super bridge builder's head off. Naruto, what? Kakashi managed to say, feeling a bit out of the loop. Oh, after the whole thing with the Puddle brothers, I slipped a seal I'd been working on, onto Tazuna. Instead of paralyzing the person who has it on, it paralyzes anyone with a high enough amount of adrenaline at the moment. Naruto explained, causing Sasuke and Kakashi to blink at him blankly. What? he said indignantly. I can be smart sometimes. Can I still sacrifice him to Jashin-sama? Sasuke asked hopefully. It had been far too long since he had been able to offer a human sacrifice to Jashin-sama. Well, I don't see why not. Naruto told him with a shrug. A bunch of Senbon needles suddenly stuck out of Zabuza's neck, causing him to drop like a rock. This is due to the fact the paralysis seals only work if the target is still alive. Apparently death-like states also count. Okay, now I see why not. Naruto conceded. Thank you for disabling him like that. A voice that's gender could not be assumed said as a masked figure appeared. I have been hunting Zabuza for some time now and you made his death much simpler for me. Damn it, you ruined my sacrifice. Sasuke shouted at the masked nin, causing them to sweat drop. My apologies, but I needed to kill him. The hunter nin said as they jumped down and lifted Zabuza's body. I thank you for your aid in that endeavor. I would have done it. You couldn't have waited a minute. Sasuke complained. Kakashi, however, after recovering his Sharingan, had noticed something. Why did you use Senbon needles to kill him? And why are you taking his body? Kakashi's eye widened as he came to a realization and he tensed up. He felt a series of sharp picks in the back of his neck. Then the world went dark and he collapsed. What? You? Naruto and Sasuke turned just in time to see the hunter nin shunshin away. They were now alone in the clearing with a drunk old man, an unconscious teammate and an unconscious sensei. Sasuke turned to Naruto. Do you think I could get away with sacrificing the old man instead? Naruto stared at him for a moment, then sighed and face-palmed. No, Sasuke, no, you can't. Damn it. Tazuna sat staring for a minute before pulling his sake bottle out and downing the whole thing. He was way too old for this crap.